It was a little after midnight when I finally pulled into the apartment complex parking lot. I had worked a long closing shift at the restaurant, and I was exhausted. All I wanted to do was take a hot shower and collapse into bed. As I approached my unit, I noticed my roommate Jen's bedroom window was dark. She must have gone to sleep already, I thought, which was unusual for her but not totally out of character. I unlocked the front door as quietly as I could and slipped inside. The living room was pitch black. I didn't want to disturb Jen, so I left the lights off. I set my purse down and slipped off my shoes, my eyes adjusting to the darkness. That's when I noticed something odd. There was a faint glow coming from the kitchen area. It was the light above the stove, the one we leave on at night for security, except it was flickering slightly, almost pulsing in a slow rhythm. I froze, listening closely. Had Jen gotten up for a late-night snack? But the apartment was silent, too silent for someone else to be awake. "Jen?" I called out softly. No response. I told myself the flickering light was just faulty wiring or something. Still, I felt a creeping unease as I tiptoed toward my bedroom. Just as I reached for my doorknob, I heard it. A whisper came from directly behind me, so close it made my neck hairs stand up. I gasped and spun around. No one was there. My hallway was empty, the living room still draped in shadows. Heart pounding, I dashed into my room and slammed the door behind me. With shaking hands, I fumbled for my light switch, flooding my bedroom with brightness. Breathing heavy, I looked around in disbelief. Had I imagined that creepy whisper? I crept back to my door and cracked it open. The flickering kitchen light seemed to blink back at me almost tauntingly. Maybe I was losing it from exhaustion, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. I checked every corner of my cluttered bedroom just to reassure myself nothing was lurking inside. Under the bed, in the closet, behind furniture, all clear. Still deeply unsettled, I decided to do a full sweep of the apartment. I stepped back into the hallway, flicking on lights as I went. The living room lit up to reveal it was empty, no boogeyman hiding behind the couch. I marched down to the kitchen next, the rhythmic blinking of the overhead light now seeming menacing. Taking a deep breath, I flipped the switch on. It immediately steadied, its soft hum calming my nerves slightly. Just one more place to check. Jen's room. I walked to her closed door, knocking gently. "Jen, you up?" No answer. I debated just leaving her be, but I had to know if she was somehow in any danger. Steeling myself, I slowly turned the knob and pushed the door open. The room was pitch black inside. Feeling along the wall, I found the switch and flipped it. Jen's bed was empty, still neatly made from this morning. In fact, her whole room looked undisturbed. There were no signs at all that she had even come home yet. I was utterly bewildered now. Had Jen stayed over somewhere else tonight without telling me? Never mind the flickering light and phantom whisperer. My roommate's unexplained absence freaked me out even more. Not wanting to be alone, I left all the lights on and eventually fell into a fitful sleep curled up on the living room couch. The light provided some comfort, but I kept bolting awake at every creak and rustle. By the time the pale morning light crept in, I was exhausted yet wired from adrenaline. I kept checking my phone, but no missed calls or texts from Jen. I eventually dozed off as dawn broke. I awoke to the sound of keys at the front door. Jen walked in looking just as haggard as me. I sprang up from the couch, blurting out what happened last night before she could speak. She listened to my story, eyes growing wider and filling with tears. When I finished, she collapsed onto the couch and began sobbing into her hands. Between heaving breaths, Jen said she had no explanation for the flickering light or creepy whisper, because she hadn't been home at all last night. She'd gotten so frightened by strange noises and banging walls in her bedroom that she fled to her boyfriend's place instead. I was speechless, trying to process this bizarre situation. Something had been in our apartment last night, something that had driven both of us away in terror. We ended up staying at a hotel that next night, too afraid to be in the unit after dark. The following day, we told our property manager we were leaving immediately. We didn't give details, just made up an excuse about a family emergency. In the months since, I've replayed those eerie events over and over, searching for some rational explanation. Electrical issue causing the flickering light, auditory hallucination from fatigue that made me hear the whisper. But none of that accounts for the profound terror Jen felt, so intense she actually fled into the night alone. We considered calling the police or even a paranormal investigator, but worried we'd sound insane. In the end, we just packed up hastily and left, not even asking for our security deposit back. We never returned to that apartment, and Jen understandably moved out of state soon after.